One of 5 Dave Campbells at Microsoft is joining us today,
That's
Mike.
amazing. I've accidentally emailed the wrong Dave Campbell many times because we have another Dave Campbell who works on mobile who's also on the PDC team.
Is he giving you better answers to email questions?
Yeah, that's right. I just channel. I send him to both, and I just take the Dave Campbell I like the answer from.
That's smart.
Well, welcome to the show today.
Thank you for having me.
And so you're going to be participating at PDC as a speaker.
As a speaker,
right?
Yes.
And you'll talk about what?
I'm going to talk about extending the data platform to the cloud.
Okay.
And what the heck's
What
a data platform? What's a data platform? So we go back 10, 15 years ago. I came to Microsoft actually 14 years ago last month.
Wow, congratulations.
And, yeah, it's eerie to be in this building because I started the next building over. There was just a small group of us off in the corner. And we had the SAP lab here. We were trying to get SQL Server running well with SAP. And there was literally a path worn in the grass. It looked like a cow path between here. We were just, 24 hours a day, we were just zipping back and forth trying to get that thing
So
going.
I just learned from the 14 years ago you were working on SQL, on database technology.
I was, in fact.
So you've been doing data a long time now.
I have been doing
A
data
little bit of an expert, huh?
I don't know. Yeah, I got a lot of stuff floating around up there. But yeah, and so when I got here, it was just the database. I mean, it was a relational database server with some client libraries. And then we added in analysis services, and then we added in reporting, and then we added in replication and synchronization and other sorts of things, data mining. So we no longer refer to it as a database. We refer to it as a data platform. And so we've got a version of SQL that runs on this thing, a version of SQL that runs and servers large and small, and now working on a version of SQL with SQL technology that's running at internet scale.
Wow.
So
What does that mean, internet scale?
internet scale. That means we try to get hundreds and thousands of computers in the data center to all work on database services. And
So as opposed to just having a server that I install with a CD and put in a rack somewhere.
it's we've got stuff running around the globe.
Ooh, and mysterious noises.
It's a mysterious feedback.
That might be the ship. There's a cruise, I think, leaving from the back door.
Okay,
That's what it is. It's time to get on.
Where are we going?
Yeah, exactly.
So are you going to be talking about some stuff that's going to be surprising to some of our partners and customers?
Yeah, I think we've been talking about SQL Server data services for a number of months now. In fact, we've had a limited beta going. And one of the things that's been really interesting is what we've learned around the new scenarios. So a lot of people, including myself, sort of came into this, well, do I take a database and when do I put it on a SQL Server? When would I put it on the cloud sort of thing? And in reality, I think it's about a number of new scenarios. And so we do have some interesting things in responding to what we've learned over the last few months that we'll talk about at PDC, which I think will be surprising to people.
So you taught me something right there. It's not just, I can't just back up my database into a file necessarily and upload it and the world is good.
Yeah,
there are some other changes that you're kind of implying here.
Absolutely, there are a number of changes. And some of them are pretty simple to understand. Just the speed of light is a challenge, right? When we talk about latencies.
Heck, I can only run like 10 miles an hour probably.
Latencies in the internet really matter.
Yep.
And so if you do something that has a lot of round trips to the database, like server cursors and doing a round trip of fetch for every row, that is going to perform much differently at 100 or 500 millisecond latency than it would in a local area network with sub-millisecond latency. So we need to change some of the patterns. Sort of the protocol will change, how we address the input point needs to change. And one of the biggest challenges for us engineering-wise is splitting physical and logical data administration, so that if you're outside and away using a database service, you only want to have to worry about sort of the logical view of the data and not have to worry about, is my disk getting full, how do I manage the transaction log, sort of leave that to us.
So you're talking about architectural changes, really?
Oh, significant
right?
changes, significant.
So the way I would assume things just worked because I either had the database on my machine or down the hall in the data center where the latency is fairly reasonable. But now we're pulling that cable out into the cloud, so to speak, and latencies are up, so I've got to think about things.
Yeah, one of the things we've really focused on running at data center scale is reducing the cost for both operating the system and the capital cost for us deploying the system. So database servers have liked to run on very expensive servers with very expensive disks, and if something happens, you make sure the DBA responds to his pager. And so if we're running it across thousands of machines, we basically want the system to take care of itself and be self-healing. And this is something that we've been working on for a number of years on this project. And so sort of more and more of it is now at a point where we can show it and demonstrate it to customers.
But you were telling us a story earlier that illustrates the point about the benefits to customers. And can you share the one about the oil and gas industry and how that's going to...
Well, the point is that it's reducing the friction, both in terms of provisioning and be able to get at the data without having to carry all the infrastructure with me. And I was talking to someone in the oil and gas business, and they were saying that they had trouble getting into some countries where they do exploration because they can't get their gear in there. It takes a number of months sometimes to get it through customs. And so if we can provide them the infrastructure from afar, they can get in there with laptop and some other machines with the wire and be able to just increase the reach. And so it's a lot of new scenarios, a lot of things shifting, but very, very exciting.
It's mentally it's just interesting as we talk about services more and more. It is just from a developer background, the shift in, hey, I control my laptop, now I know the guy in the server room down there and I can just go yell at him or maybe even sling a server myself to, it's just kind of out there and someone else is taking care of it is a mental struggle.
The thing that's interesting for me is it's the reducing friction in provisioning. So you can completely rethink things if you're a developer. So one example would be, if I were developing an ASP.NET app that I was going to do for a number of tenants, in fact, we've developed a demo app, DPE and Microsoft, which is called Litware, which is sort of an HR demo app. And it can be, skinned for different tenants and such, and so I could provide it. Now, if I were Litware Inc. today, I'd have to figure out how I'm going to grow that as my business scales. Where am I going to put the databases? Am I going to do it myself? Am I going to host it with someone else? So that has to be part of my concern if I'm going to run that app. In the future, with the data services, we can completely shift that so that if I were Litware Inc., I could just be concerned with the application itself, and I could actually make the provisioning of the database be part of the installation process. So I could completely be out of that part of the business. So part of the install would be provisioning yourself a database account on SSDS, for example, and up and away you go and you're running. So in that case, Litware Inc. could focus on what they focus on, and we could focus on providing a great database service and support of all of their customers.
And I know, but one of the other advantages must be then if I was Litware and I was going to sell something this holiday season, normally I'd have to plan for whatever capacity may or may not even happen around the holiday season.
That's a big shift. You're not having to, we have to worry about anticipating demand. And it's an interesting sort of demand curve. If we can aggregate across a number of customers, we can predict that fairly accurately. But if I were Litware and just had this explosion, I'd have to worry about keeping up with that. And in fact, that could slow my business down. If you think of some of the internet properties that have, some of them are having challenges today that can't keep up, it can just be the end of you today. And so,
and it's what? Hey, Joe, we need more machines. Getting them there, provisioning them, putting them in a rack.
And we've got it down now where the machines come in, we plug them into the rack. They provision from the iron on up, and they take on a roll, and away they go.
So true service. I mean, it's kind of a right click. I need more machines, or I need more power, and that's the service responds to that power.
That's where we're getting to.
That's pretty amazing. And we're going to obviously dig into this in a session at least. I know that you're giving it.
People should be adding that to their schedule right now at PDC.
Yeah, we have several sessions. There's one talking about sort of how to think about it all up, and that's the one I'm doing. It's a 200-level talk, so everyone can. I used to be doing the 400 level, but now I'm doing the big picture one. We do have a couple of talks sort of under the hood, which will share some of how we've built it and such, and so it'll be interesting.
So how it was built, kind of behind the scenes?
What we've learned.
Interesting. And I know our attendees really love that kind of session.
The good, bad, and ugly.
Yeah, we always try to give a lot of that. And some people say, well, if you're not providing touch points, why would you tell me? But man, you learn so much about architecture, performance, why I would choose something over another thing.
Yeah, the thing that we've found when we do share these details, people have a much better understanding of what we're really doing. And it builds confidence.
Yes.
They know that we just haven't taken something and stuck it in a data center.
Come on, you're just hosting it up there for me, right?
No, so it's that really helps both of us understand what's up.